DRCC KOM Challenge is a race in Malaysia. It goes from Ipoh to the Cameron Highlands, which is where all the tea plantations are. It's a really, really fun race, very well run. DRCC stands for Darul Ridzuan, which I'm probably mispronouncing. It's a really great value because for just 30 bucks, you get the race. They have timing chips, so it's timed. They have categories. And you get this nice jersey. This is the 2019 version. This is the 2019 jersey. The first and only time I've done this. I mean, I wanted to do it every year, but COVID killed that. In 2019, I was there by myself. This time, I brought one of the Smash Brothers with me, Odd, which is, this is his type of race. He should do really well. I expect him to be on the podium of the old man category. And of course, I'm an older man than he is. I don't know if I'll be on the old man podium. I doubt it. I had COVID back in August, and my fitness went to almost zero, and I've been trying to build it back up, but I'm not expecting too much. Let's check in with Odd and see what he says. Okay, what's your plan for tomorrow, boss?
Go up and then go down.
Okay, are you going to the, you only have about 200 people in the old man category. Are you going to get on the podium or what?
If I get double digit, I'd be super happy.
That was a typically humble response. You watch. He's going to smoke me no matter what he says. But it's cool. I also have another person with me, my nutritionist. She and I are going to be embarking on quite a bit of carbo loading. Check this out. This year there were at least 1,600 people signed up for the race, which was double the last time. It's crazy how many people now were there. And it was divided into 3 groups, road bikes, mountain bikes, and fat bikes. I'll show you a fat bike later so you know what I'm talking about. Now with that many people, I figured they'd do a stagger start. You know, maybe send the juniors off with the elite, and then the seniors, and then, you know, age group by age group. To keep it a little cleaner, but no. It was one big, giant, chaotic mess of people all together, all the groups together. So I got to the race about 45 minutes ahead of schedule, and to my shock, when I looked over the starting line, there was already about 800 or 900 people lined up. It was crazy how many people were there early. And I had ridden over from downtown with this Singapore cycling team. I don't remember their names, but I was just following them because I knew they were going to the race. And then they did the most baller move of all. They just rode head on to the front of the group and just turned their bikes around and got right in the front of the line. So I saw this, and I thought about it for a second. I said, okay, fuck it. I'm going to do the same thing. And that's how I ended up with such a great starting position. Now, Odd, I don't know how far back he was, but he got there later than I did. And so he was way behind me at the start. Now, if there's one thing that's a given with bike racing, it's something's gonna go wrong. No matter how well you plan, no matter how lucky you are, something unexpected is gonna happen. You're gonna have to deal with it. Now, I rode as a junior in the 80s, and it seems like there were fewer things that could go wrong then. Now there's so much electronics and computer related stuff in cycling that a lot more can go wrong. So we start off the race, maybe we're a mile down. I look down at my bike computer, no power, no heart rate, no nothing, just blank. And I'm just shaking my head thinking, what the hell? Now in the scheme of things, it's really not that bad. It's not like getting a puncture or a fatal mechanical. But you see, I was following a pacing plan on my computer. I have a tendency to go off way too hard and blow up. And I had a nice little plan on the computer that was telling me how much watts to put down when to get me to the finish line at just under 3 hours, which is what I was shooting for. So, you know, going full speed with hundreds of people around you, tapping on the computer, trying to get it to work, changing things around, nothing would work. So it was really frustrating. So I decided I would just forget it until we got to the bottom of the first climb, which is about 8 miles in, and I would pull over and just try to reboot it. Now I didn't spend more than a minute or two at the side of the road. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I had to turn the whole thing off, kind of reboot it, let it power back up again, and of course in these times when it matters, it's always slower than it needs to be. So I just waited patiently. People just kept going by me. And by the time I started climbing, any of the fast groups that I was hoping to latch onto were way up the road, gone. There were hundreds of people ahead of me. And you know, it's nice to have a group that is going your speed because it's not the steepest of climbs. There's a lot of 4%, 3%, 5%. There's flat sections, so the draft really does matter. And it's helpful to be in a group of people. Anyways, really nothing more to do at this point other than play chase the rabbit or rabbits. So just pick somebody out on the horizon, chase them down, rinse and repeat. Besides, I had the Norwegian champ behind me. Any minute now he'd be pulling up behind me and we'd work together to the top, which would be awesome. Little did I know, he had passed me when I was fixing my bike computer on the side of the road. He was well ahead of me, tucked into a nice group, dropping me like a stone. I had no idea. See, there's a lot of places like this where it's really flat and then goes into a steep downhill. So you're climbing and climbing and gaining, and then you're losing altitude so quickly you have to do it all over again. Now, one of the tough parts about age group racing is you're mixed in with everybody else. You don't know who you're racing against. You don't know who's in your group. So you kind of are blind in a way. However, I heard somebody coming up from behind me, and I looked over and I saw a guy with a triangle-shaped white beard, and I knew immediately he was in my group. And he was standing on the pedals, full tilt, and I knew I had to go with him, yet I could not. And he passed me and became an instant hero. He was flying. It turns out he came in 4th, so he was really, really strong. One of the funny things you notice is after about 30 minutes of climbing, everybody you see is a skeleton. So much lighter than me. So I'm chasing skinny people up a mountain. It's not a recipe for success. Now, is it possible to set goals, achieve them all, and still be disappointed? Hold that thought. Hopi Sigo Song Si Jiu.
Kopi có song si chưa having here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it turns out it is possible to be disappointed. I accomplished all three things I set out to do. I wanted to be under 3 hours. I wanted to set a 3-hour power record. And I wanted to hold 85% of my threshold power, which is the power you can hold for an hour. 85% of that for 3 hours. I did all three. Yet, I still come away a bit disappointed. Perhaps I set the bar too low on my goals, but I don't think so. So maybe I'm not disappointed so much as I'm unsatisfied. I want more. I want to be faster. So there's only one thing that you do once you decide that. Correct. Just hit the training hard. I took one day off and got back at it. Besides, I've got a race coming up in Australia on April 1st, the Snowy Classic. It's 105 miles and 10,000 feet of climbing. Scary.